welcome to Hedge Witch Herbarium. I'm Kelly Proudfoot and I'm going to be talking today about hand magic, and this is something that's really useful if you're somewhere and you don't have all your ritual tools, but it is important to remember that with witchcraft or paganism, however you want to call it, thinking that you need a full-blown ceremonial ritual to put a spell out there or to put energies out there can really thwart your power, because that's usually something that someone else has come up with. Ceremonial magic has a history of very intricate and involved rituals using archaic language, which if you like that, that's fine. But in a pinch, it's good to be able to just do something without needing to reach for a gemstone, a mojo bag, a bunch of herbs, or an amulet, a talisman, or any of those other things that are fun to play with. And I have on one of my playlists is called Precious Things, and that's where I put at the moment all my content about gemstones. And I'm going to be adding to that with all these extra accoutrements that I'm talking about you don't need to use in a pinch, but whether they be talismans, amulets and spell work and all those other things. But here I wanted to talk about hand magic. Your hands, we've always had hands, and we use hands in everyday life, of course, for pretty much everything. But when you're thinking about it in a term of a ritual sense, it's amazing how the certain symbols that we do, whether it's thumbs up because something's good or thumbs down, whether we're beckoning people or telling people to go away, excuse the cats, I'm sorry, we use our hands anyway. So having those tools with us at any time, whether we're in a line in a store or in traffic, which I will share a story about where I use that to help myself, especially with managing with stress, but also to signify to your subconscious. For example, when I'm going through some negative self-talk, and I'm getting a lot better at that, because what I do is I just click my fingers next to my head and tell myself, no, we're not doing that, no negative self-talk. Clicking your fingers could be alerting yourself to something. Sometimes people who have speech impediments will click their finger to try to signal to the subconscious or to their mind that, no, this is the word. And sometimes that helps you get on track. Sometimes we see people clicking their fingers because they don't want to clap, because that might be considered too overwhelming for some people. But what we need to do also too, along with using our hands with hand magic, is of course programming our minds. We've got to control our thoughts and focus our direction, the direction of our energies we wish to either push back or bring forward, because sometimes we think something else is going on. So if we all of a sudden go off on a tangent, we realize we're wrong. So assess the situation, of course. Is this real? Is this something that I need to control? And whether it's just something that you're signaling to yourself so that you can control yourself, or whether it is something that we're doing to other people to let them know that's enough or what have you. It's really good. One time I was driving to work, and I'm not a slow-mo in any stretch of the imagination. When I drive, I hit the speed limit, but if everybody else is, the flow's going 5 or 10 over, I'll stick with that. But what's annoying to me is when you're in the fast lane, I was doing 5 miles over the speed limit coming down a hill, and there was no one in the outside lane, but this car came up behind me and they decided to just ride my tail. There was no reason for it. I was already going above the speed limit. They could have easily gone out and overtook in the slow lane. Really, I was going faster, but anyway, they decided to ride my ass. So of course I take my foot off the accelerator to dare them, because it's like, really? Okay, let's see how far you want to go. No one coming in the other lane. So they eventually took off. Now, It's easy to, especially in the heat of the moment, to think, I'm going to race after them and tailgate them and maybe follow them to work or whatever. But I knew that was going to be ridiculous. But as I was thinking all this, the rage that was building up, like, how dare you? That was totally unnecessary and ridiculous on your behalf. You've obviously got psychological issues. Deal with that. Don't project it onto me. But as this tension was building up in my throat, I realized it was either blood pressure or just the stress, I don't know, but I felt like my throat was going to explode, and I thought, I can't keep driving while I'm feeling like this. So I automatically just went like this, and I did it a lot louder than that. But I imagined flicking the negative energy away, getting it out of me. And then I've had this thing ever since my 20s where if I do something like that, I imagine that whatever I'm directing the energies at, that it falls in the earth and turns into fertilizer and nourishes the earth. I mean, that's the way. I just didn't want to feel too negative or too bad about flicking bad stuff all the time away. But as it was amazing. As soon as I did that and did that like real loud yell, as I flicked my fingers and imagined all that negative energy leaving my body, straight away, by the time I got to the bottom of the hill and kept driving, I realized this is gone. Because I was expecting I was going to feel that for quite a while, but that motion of just doing that signaled to my brain that this is not required or desired, get out of me, and it worked. And that was something, even though I'd always done certain types of hand magic throughout my life, just seeing that instant response made me feel like, yeah, there is real power when you connect the mind with the hands, and whatever you do with the hands, whether you're writing, whatever. But that's just one instance. I find that flicking, like when someone's in my energy, someone's in the room, it's like, oh, here we go. There's that narcissist again trying to drum up drama or whatever. I just, behind their back, flick it away. Not having it. Whether it's a visualization of a sphere or a ball over me that protects me from them. But oftentimes it's the hands. We have all kinds of things that we do with our hands when we're trying to piss somebody off, or in Australia and England, a lot it's up yours, kind of thing. But other hand magic that you can do is, like, again, with the hands out, blocking people. Even if you're alone and you know something's about to happen, or somebody's coming into your life, walking in the door, what have you, just doing a little, okay, I am protected. This is my sphere. You are not going to step over this. And of course, push comes to shove, somebody means you harm, they come at you. Of course, you're going to use your hands to hit them, push, defend yourself, whatever you need to do. But when you're out and about, and if you're feeling that your stress levels are getting really high, I find a good thing with your hands is just to go, because you're signaling to the subconscious or to the mind that we're bringing it down. Because it's not just their energy, it's your energy. Sometimes it's a lot of stuff that's coming out of us, so we can't point our finger all the time. Then that's another thing with the finger, if someone is stepping over the boundaries and saying things to you, whether it's in person or otherwise, it's the you will not. The pointing of the finger is magic. Sometimes that's taken as a provocation. If you're having an argument with someone, you start pointing, especially when people get physical and close and they've got to point you in the chest. That's a really, it's effective, but it's also something to keep in mind if you think, I'm highly sensitive, I'm blowing this out of proportion, really this happened, but I'm acting like this happened. But, the pointing of the finger, sometimes, I use my hands a lot when I talk, and sometimes I do this roundabout thing if people are talking for too long and I have to remember not to do it in front of them. I might have my hand under the desk, like, wind it up, you're talking too much, you're taking too long, or what have you. There's also the cutting, like whether it's you doing something or someone else or a situation and you think, I've got to get out of here, that's enough. Sometimes I find this motion is good because it signifies to my brain, time to do whatever you need to do to get out of the situation. Might not always be terrible situations, but just uncomfortable situations or things happening that you think, I wish it wasn't this way. Stating your case, sometimes it's, I find I'll go, yes, but, and I'll talk like that, but the cutting is different to that. Open palms, of course, that's magic when you're receiving energy, whether it's from the moon, the sun, the heavens, or when you're praying. Oftentimes people will do this. I find that's a little bit more like supplication and almost obeisance. It just rubs me the wrong way, but you might find that nice and peaceful. You might feel you've come back to center when you're holding your hands like that. But I like the open hands, especially when I'm saying, please give me strength, or please give me the fortitude to get through this, or I just want some inspiration. Whatever it is, the hands out, it's a universal gesture. As well as like I said before, this is an interesting one because I've tried this just with my mind. For example, it was an experiment because I love playing with these kind of things, but when you're in a crowd or you're in a meeting and someone's standing in front of you and they're facing the other way, and you want them to talk to you or you want to get their attention, so rather than yell out their name, you can concentrate on the back of their head just like a laser pointer and just say in your mind, turn around, I want to talk to you, hey. Think those things in your head, and it's amazing. People will usually turn around because we have that sixth sense or what have you, where we can pick up on things and we can't tell how we knew, but we knew. So what I do is sometimes, and it's worked, eventually they turn around and they're like, oh hey, and you can start talking. It's just a fun thing to do. But with the hand magic, you could just stand and just do this. And I've done this with animals and it usually works, and as well as the concentration. I imagine a gold ball traveling along an invisible line to the person and then returning back to me. And it might sound kind of manipulative. It's just a fun thing to do, especially with people you know and who trust you and you trust them. But sometimes, of course, the waving, waving is, hey, getting people's attention, but also letting them know you're acknowledging them. Sometimes there's the warning, stand back, stop it. We've done the come here. The one I find interesting is the fist. Like, I do this a lot when I'm angry. It's like, hold it in, because if you open up, it's going to explode. I actually mentioned in one of my videos on my other channel when I was talking about mental health issues, I was going through stuff, being very angry, transforming and transmuting those negative energies, that I felt like I was a gnarled fist, having held on to things that had happened in the past and what have you. But on the other hand, a fist is a good way to, I remember when we were kids, parents play, my dad especially, I'm going to get you kids. Sometimes it's a fun thing, but the fist actually shows I'm holding it in. I've got it here. This energy is waiting, but it's also that you're not going to do anything, but you've reserved the right to attack if you have to, so you're prepared. There's all sorts of different hand magics you can do. We do, if you look at sign language, for example, with people who are hearing impaired, use sign language. Sometimes, when it's like the water and you do things like that, but the fingers doing the walking. When you think in a ritualistic sense, when you're talking about magic, using your hands in any situation where you don't have all your tools with you can be really useful. When you want to direct energy, you can point. You point your finger and up to the sky, so above, so below. You can use your finger just like you would an atame or a wand if you're casting circle. I find often too, I do this a lot when I'm talking about dealing with stuff. So oftentimes This can be going to put this here, going to put that there, going to organize things. So it puts your brain in the frame that I'm doing stuff, I'm organizing things. Now, you might have your own hand magic that you do that you don't even realize. There's especially with body language, if you look into that, they say people, if they're rubbing their nose, that means they're lying. Not necessarily the truth all the time, because they might just have an itchy nose. We say things like on the nose if something stinks, or so our hands are really expressive, and I could go on and on about all that, all the different times or ways that you can use hand magic. But I just wanted to to bring it out to share with people that you don't have to, especially if you're a witch, especially if you're a young witch, and whether solitary or part of a coven, you don't have to go nuts, even though it's exciting to go out and get all the bells and whistles. Go out and get your cauldron and your incense holder and your charcoal and all your gemstones and all your herbs and all the books. And that's great because it's fun. You get into a hobby, you do all that. But just know that the magic starts with you. It comes from within. And knowing yourself, and I'm an old lady, but I'm still getting to know myself, knowing yourself and then knowing that you have the power within without having to rely on any extra tools. Even my tarot cards, which I love to use, when it comes to it, at the end of the day, I can think and project into the future. Okay, in the past, this is how things went along. So if I make this decision, it's going to go that way. So the craft is free. You can go out into your own backyard, find things that you could use today, or go to the second-hand store to get your cauldron and your candlestick holders and what have you. But really, if you're, in a pinch, you can just rely on yourself and using hand magic. And like I'm just doing that too, sometimes that signifies to my brain I am speaking a truth here, or I'm analyzing something and trying to get to the truth of the matter. But just know, magic is free, and you already have the capacity to do the magic without having to go out and get all these extra things to be able to say, now I can do it. Because if you don't have that in understanding of yourself and of other people and situations, all those extra tools will kind of be a waste of time, because you'll be projecting in the wrong direction. But I hope this was useful to you, and stay tuned. I'm going to be posting a lot more content. And I just also want to say at the end of this, to all the 23 subscribers I have at the moment, I really appreciate you, and I hope that you can comment and let me know what you like about the channel, what you think I should do more, or even if you just want to share your own story about how you use hand magic. It'd be really interesting, actually. But take care, blessed be, and may you never thirst.